Welcome to today's webinar on our new feature, ForeFlight Tracking. ForeFlight Tracking provides flight planners with real-time flight status and progress information in dispatch, offering enhanced operational visibility into current flights to inform future plans. Let's meet today's presenters.
Hi, I'm Galloway, and I am the product manager for tracking.
Hello, my name is Olgaard, and I'm team lead of our tracking team in Denmark.
And I'm Keith Wagner on the ForeFlight marketing team. Before we begin, I want to mention that you can ask questions using the Q&A panel. We have a team standing by to answer your questions, and we will also take a few of the more popular questions that come in and ask them to our presenters at the end. We tend to get a lot of questions towards the end of our webinar, so if you have a question, I encourage you to submit it as soon as you think of it. If your question is not answered during today's webinar, you can always send it to us at team@foreflight.com. Lastly, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel and website. Caitlin, take it away.
Thanks, Keith. We are so excited to be releasing ForeFlight Tracking. Tracking integrates live flight status and progress information in dispatch, both in map-based view and within the Flights tab. So this combination of flight planning and monitoring in one place empowers you to anticipate and respond to adverse factors such as weather, other diversions, so you can proactively mitigate scheduled impacts before they happen. Today, we're going to start on the tracking tab. So once you have tracking activated, you'll see the tracking tab here on the left sidebar. Once we come into the tracking tab, all of the tails that you have activated, you will see a list of active flights here on the left, and then you'll have the overview on the map on the right side here. If we want to take a look at a specific flight, we can just click on the icon. As you can see, that will highlight the flight that we're looking at over here on the left. We can see some high-level information here. So tail number, altitude, heading, speed, and the data source as well. If you've planned this flight in dispatch, you will see the planned flight route. If I zoom in just a little bit here, you can see the planned route from dispatch, and then you can also see the actual route that the aircraft has flown. From here, we can customize the map layer just like you can do anywhere else in ForeFlight. So right now I've got the Jeppesen IFR chart displayed, and I've got radar turned on, but if I want to take a look at turbulence instead, I could turn that on. Again, zoom out to just get a little bit better picture here. I can animate these layers as well. So this would be really helpful, if you saw a major diversion, for example, of a flight plan, you could come here, take a look at the weather layers, and maybe see an explanation for why that happened. If I want to get additional details about this flight, I can click on this arrow here, and that will take me into the singular flight view. Once I come in here, I can see more details about the flight. I can see departure, destination, departure time, or estimated arrival time. I can also see more details about altitude and ground speed. So here we can see planned versus actual altitude. And I can see the same details for ground speed. So if I can just hover along the route, I can see any deviations from the plan. The source of the data is going to determine how much data is displayed here. So if we got it, we'll display it. We've got position, distance, airspeed you can see is missing here, and also vertical speed. As we scroll back up to the top, we've got a few icons here. The first one here is our hyperlink. This will open the flight in dispatch. And if I click on that, now I can see this flight in dispatch. I can see all of the details for this flight, just like you would expect to see any other flight in dispatch. One other thing to mention here is if we go to the Flights tab, you'll also see this new Tracking tab. And this is going to give you just kind of a high-level view of the progress of the flight. So you can see this flight is currently in progress. And again, if we click on this, it'll take us right back to that flight in tracking. A new feature that we just released is sharing as well. So we've got our send to icon here. If we click on that, this will generate a public link. So once we toggle on that public link, we've got a link generated. We can copy that. And I just want to note here, this is a unique link, but anyone with this link will be able to see this flight. So it is really helpful in order to share with, executive assistants, family, friends, whoever needs to see the information about the progress of this flight. But just be aware that that is a public link, so anyone could come in and see that. And if I open up a new tab and paste that link, this is what that view is going to look like. So there's not a lot of access, like they can't get into your account or anything like that, but they will be able to see the details of the flight. So that's what this looks like. Let's go back to the main tracking. All right, so we are back on the tracking tab, and Anna, I think there was something you wanted to point out.
Yes, you can see on a flight that we at some flights have an updated block time, both in departure and arrival, where you can see based on what is scheduled, it might be further delayed or earlier than scheduled that it took off and landed. So here you can get live updates in block times, and we will then show the status of the flight as delayed if it's more than 30 minutes delayed. So so that means you can kind of follow and see how it's deviating from the planned flight itself. Yeah, back to you, Caitlin.
So this one, like you mentioned, it's not more than 30 minutes delayed, so it's still showing on time, but that icon could change.
Yeah, we actually have an example on the demo 2 where it's landed is shown in a different color, and that's because it was delayed. It landed delayed, and there we had a block time delay of more than 30 minutes.
So the way that I found this was using the search. So we do have just a regular search option here, but we also have a few different filters. So if you want to filter this list, you can do that a few different ways. Anna, do you want to talk about these?
Yes. So in here you can kind of sort the list based on different properties. So right now it's departure time, but you could choose arrival time, for example, if you can do that, Caitlin. And it will rearrange the list based on that, if that is more interesting to you. You can also go into a new date filter. And in there you can maybe take a look at the last week, the flights. If you want to go back in time and see historical flights, then you can do that as you want. And all of this can be done while filtering in on a specific tail or searching for something specific. So you can add more filters on top of each other. And you can also choose the sort direction. So if you want to start with the newest or the oldest, or if you're searching alphabetically from A or C. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's quite a few different ways to customize this list and make it the way that you need to see it for your specific operation. Actually, that reminds me, there's one more thing. If we take a look at the view settings up here on the top right, you now have the option to choose to display times in local or Zulu time. There will be more settings coming to this in the future, so stay tuned. So now I want to talk about just how tracking is set up in our system. And I wanted to find a specific flight. Stand by. Let me clear the filters. So if we zoom out a little bit again, I'm going to find this transatlantic flight that I'm looking for. So there's a few different sources that we have for tracking at the moment. Our standard plan is ADS-B ground-based tracking. But if you are doing some transatlantic flights, for example, like this one, we will be using our enhanced tracking, and that is going to be satellite-based tracking. So definitely if you're flying over the oceans, this is something you'd want to look into. We also currently support data link tracking via AirInc. So I just refreshed the page, and if we click on this transatlantic flight again, we can see now that it is showing Aireon as the data source, and Aireon is our provider of our satellite-based tracking. So to recap, we have two different plans for tracking. We have the standard tracking, which is our ADS-B, and then we have our enhanced tracking, which is AirInc Data Link if you already have a subscription with AirInc, and also the satellite-based tracking via Aireon. Dispatch is a prerequisite to have tracking, but it is a per tail add-on. So you can just track the tails that you want. Of course, you're going to have a lot more context here. If you've got all of your tails active, you can get that overview here on the tracking page. So this is a look at our tracking tool today. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Keith.
Thank you, everyone. Before we get to your questions, I want to point out a few useful links for you. First, ForeFlight.com/business is where you can learn more about everything offered in ForeFlight for Business, including many things we didn't have time to cover today. Check out ForeFlight.com/webinars. There you can watch some of our past webinars, including those on dispatch and runway analysis, and register for upcoming webinars. And lastly, we mentioned it earlier, but you can always reach out to our sales team at sales@foreflight.com or our pilot support team at team@foreflight.com. With that, let's move into our Q&A. Caitlin, the first question is for you. Are there any gaps in the satellite or ADS-B network that would make tracking difficult?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. So we do have some coverage maps if you go to foreflight.com/tracking. And yeah, you can just get some additional information on that link. The ADS-B is ground-based, so it's not going to be full global coverage, but we do, with our enhanced tier, we support satellite tracking. So if you're doing a lot of oceanic flights, I would definitely recommend taking a look at that tier.
Excellent, absolutely. And Anna, next question is for you. How often will I receive position updates in tracking?
Yes, so for our standard license, it will update every 5 to 10 seconds. On average, it can fluctuate. However, it all depends on the coverage in the area and the quality of the ADS-B transponder and receiver. And for enhanced license, there we support satellite and AirInc data. And the satellite data from Aireon will update once a minute. And for the AirInc data, that depends on the configuration.
Absolutely. And Caitlin, are the tracking links reusable, or are they only for a one-time tracking of a specific flight?
So at the moment, the sharing links are just unique to that one flight.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And Anna, how far back can customers, or if I was a customer using tracking, how far back can I look for playback of past flights?
Yeah, so we store all tracking data right now for 6 months. But if you're in need of storing them longer, we can discuss that. But it's right now we store them to see if we can capture all the information that the customer needs in their 6-month timeline.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, customers can always reach out to team at ForeFlight if they have any questions. Caitlin, 2 questions for you. Are all planes with ADS-B out able to be tracked? And the second question, can I set up custom alerts that are specific to a tail number?
Yeah, couple of things there. So all aircraft, anything that we can receive via ADS-B, data link or satellite, it will be tracked. I kind of want to answer a second question here, which is like, do I need to have ADS-B out? The answer is no, you don't. But we do recommend that you have ADS-B out, right? The more data we have, if you have ADS-B out, the better that tracking information is going to be. And then the next question, setting up custom alerts for a specific tail number. No, but it is a great idea and it's something that we're looking into.
Excellent. Anna, question is for you. If I have multiple sources for tracking, which one will you display?
Yes, so we prioritize the best data feed that we have available at the time. So if we have satellite data available, we will use that for positioning. And if we have any airport information or block time information from AirInc, we'll use that. So we prioritize the data based on which source we have the best quality from.
Gotcha. And a follow-up to that, does a flight need to be released or filed in order to be tracked?
No, it doesn't. We track based on ADS-B data, and then we can match with the dispatch flights if there is any, but it can work without any dispatch flights filed
Excellent.
or released.
Wonderful. And Caitlin, coming to you with the next question, will the tracking still work if the planned flight was through a different planning product?
Yeah, so actually kind of piggybacking off of Anna's last question, right? Like if you didn't plan it in dispatch, you didn't file it there, even if you didn't file it at all, we will still receive that either ADS-B or satellite data. So you'll be able to see it.
Excellent. And a lot of great questions still coming in. Next one is for Anna. Are there plans or a timeline to add additional tracking features such as 7700 notifications, diversion notifications?
Yes, this is something we are currently working on. It's a new feature called flight events that will include emergency squawking, diversion, wheels up, wheels down, and that will also come with some way of kind of notifying over email. So that's we're very excited to be releasing that soon.
Excellent. Happy to hear that. That's going to be a very useful and very beneficial notification to be able to add. Caitlin, question for you. Is there a plan to create a lobby flight board to continually display?
Yeah, great question. So I will say stay tuned on that. We know that a lot of, either FBOs or flight departments, they just kind of want to put this on a big screen and be able to look at everything that's going on, just get that nice overview of what's happening with the fleet. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. And another question for you, Caitlin. This is one of my favorites. When does it launch?
Great news. It's already launched. So if you are interested in trying it out, we can definitely set you up with a trial. You can reach out to sales@foreflight.com and they can get you set up.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. With that, Caitlin and Anna, I did want to ask you if there's any other questions that have come in that you're able to see that you would like to answer. If so, now would be a great time.
Yeah, I saw one more come in. Is there a limit on the number of users to view the full details of the company aircraft? So at the moment, no. Anyone who is on your company account can view the tracking page. So there's no restrictions on that. If you're wondering about like, can I share the link to the flight to multiple people, you can do that as well. And when you do share that out, right, they don't need to have a ForeFlight account. They can look at that. It's a public link. So you can share that out as much as you'd like. And maybe another question that might be in here as well is how to set this up. And it is a per tail product. So you can choose the tails that you want to track, whether that's the whole fleet or just a couple. And you can also set up different coverages for different aircraft. So if only a couple are flying oceanic, you can set those up with enhanced. You know, if you've got one only flying in the US or something like that, you can set that up with standard.
Excellent. I think that just about wraps up everything that we have to talk about today. Of course, I want to thank our presenters for taking the time to be here today. Anna and Caitlin, thank you so much, as well as the ForeFlight staff working behind the scenes to bring this webinar to life and answer all the questions that came in. And lastly, I want to thank you for joining today's webinar. This webinar was recorded and will be available on our website and YouTube channel within the next 24 hours, so you can watch it back. You can share this webinar with the rest of your flight planning team. And if you have any questions, you can always send them to team@foreflight.com. Thanks again, everyone, so much for being with us today, and we look forward to having you on the next one.